Hey, what's up, guys? Real quick before we get into this episode, know that there is some explicit language. I don't recommend listening to this one with your kids. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another Tactical Baby Gear podcast. My name is Beav Brody. In this episode, Alex and I sit down with retired U.S. Marine sniper, Medal of Honor recipient, Dakota Meyer. Dakota is a father, and we take a very interesting look at his perspective of the world. You know, Dakota being a sniper, he sees things differently. He sees the world from a 10,000-foot view and how all of the pieces of the puzzle play with one another. Everything is very calculated for him. Everything is like an equation. Everything kind of has to add up, and there has to be an answer for it and accountability for things. So it's very interesting to get inside of his head and his perspective of life and how he translates that into parenting and some of that kind of stuff. It's very, very interesting. There are some very deep thoughts in this. I think you guys are going to really, really like it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Dakota, what's up, bro?
What's up, man?
Good to have you here.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys bringing me in.
Thank you for coming and taking the time. I know it's been a very hectic week for you.
It's been a good week.
After coming off a Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah,
and
it was a good time.
speeches, and how was that? Joe Rogan was good?
Joe was good. Joe's a really good guy. He's just a down to earth. You know, you get to his, you get to his facility, and there's his podcast studio. It's larger than life, and it's like you would imagine. It's like every man's.
It's like a man cave.
It is like the ultimate man cave.
He keeps some cars there?
Yeah, cars there, all kinds of stuff. But like Joe was just like a real dude. Like that's one thing. Like it was so cool just to meet him because, everybody knows this guy. Yeah. And, I grew up watching him on Fear Factor.
Right. That's a lot of us did at our age.
And yeah, right. And he was just like bullshit. And it was like so cool. It was really cool to meet him. He's really, really, like I had a lot of respect for Joe before I got there, but after I left, I had even more respect for him.
Yeah, he's so incredible in the fact that he can have practically any guest on his show and hold a very intelligent conversation with anybody about most topics.
Yeah.
And it's impressive.
It's really impressive. And just the way he goes about himself. And I knew I was sitting across from a guy that a lot of our beliefs couldn't even be on
not even be aligned.
No, they're not. Like you couldn't even be in the same page, right? But it was just so cool that like it didn't really matter. Like he shows. He showed me the same respect that I expect he would show someone that had the same beliefs with his respect.
Right.
Same beliefs. So it was really it was everything that everybody around who knows him had put him up to be. He was he was it.
Cool.
Yeah.
His public image is his actual
Yeah, he's so funny. He's you could just tell the guy is just a genuinely good dude.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Whoop your behind.
As are you. Yeah. So let's give everyone listening who may not know who Dakota is. There's not many things that Dakota isn't. He's a former Marine, Medal of Honor recipient. He's a son. He's a father. He's a helicopter pilot. He's just so many things. So this podcast could kind of go the gamut of all kinds of directions, and it's going to be fun. So I'm excited to see where this goes. Tell them a little bit about yourself. Let's hear a little bit of Dakota's backstory and upbringing, and maybe a short version of your military story, because I don't want to go down a deep path of that. But
look, I would say like where I'm at today. Obviously, I think everybody goes through evolutions of their life, right? Like it's part of it, phases or seasons or whatever you want to call it. And right now, who is Dakota today? Well, number one, I'm a father. That's by far the nucleus, the core of who I am and why I do what I do and why I wake up and why I stand for the things I stand for, right? But I grew up in a small town in Columbia, Kentucky. I tell people all the time, I didn't really know that they made houses without wheels until I was like 11. I didn't come from anything crazy. I was really fortunate that I had a father that just I was adopted at a young age. And
you were adopted?
I was.
Interesting.
Yeah. I know my biological mother, but my father adopted me at a young age. And he him and my grandfather and grandmother and just my family on, that I got to grow up with. When I look back at the things I've accomplished, I can't take any of the credit for it. I mean, I got to give it to them. Like they set the foundation from the beginning. Just not just telling me what to do, but by living a life. Like when I go back and look at the things that my dad does every day, it's like, I mean, this is a guy who, you want to talk about the epitome of living a life worthy of living. Like that dude does it. Like he wakes up every day and no matter what he's doing, he takes pride in what he's doing. He leaves it all on the table. So, I'm really fortunate to have, and in my friends and family I grew up with, I was so lucky. And played football in high school. I was your typical high school student. Didn't, nothing. I didn't get in too much trouble, Yeah. I definitely wasn't your honor roll student or anything, but got out, went to the Marine Corps. Was in the Marine Corps. I actually went to Paris Island, right across the street. Just a few miles away from here, right?
Yep. I love your story about how you joined the Marine Corps.
Yeah. The Marine told me I couldn't make it. Told me I wouldn't. I'd never make it as a Marine. And I went to Paris Island. Then after Paris Island, went to Camp Geiger, North Carolina. Did infantry training, and then went to Hawaii, where I was stationed. And I actually graduated sniper school there. Became a school-trained sniper. Went to Iraq and Afghanistan. Came back from Afghanistan. Was in a gunfight over there. Lost my whole team, and came back in 2009. Around Thanksgiving of 2009. I think I got home December 5th, 2009, and then got out of the Marine Corps in 2010, and then I got the Medal of Honor in 2011, and here I am.
Crazy.
That's the quickest version.
Quickest version. Give us a little bit more depth into the gunfight.
Yeah.
And how, because being a Medal of Honor recipient is a big deal. Not many people get that, so there's obviously more to that story. But the short version would.
So we were basically. So I had a team. It was me, Lieutenant Johnson, Gunny Kennefick, and Doc Layton, and we lived on a base in Afghanistan, up in northeastern Afghanistan, in a place called the Kunar Province. And basically our jobs were we were advisors to the Afghan National Army. So we lived on a base with, it was 4 U.S. and 80 Afghans. And we did everything with them from helping them. Your basically your mission is, it's a unique mission. And you help train them to you're trying to train them so that they can be better at what they do. So you can, basically the theory is
training them to fight. Train
them to sustain themselves so we can go home and let them fight their own wars, right? Which is incredible. The Afghan people, I'll say up front, are just incredible people. The Afghan soldiers I serve next to, I respect them as much as I respect anybody who's wore our nation's cause. And so we were going into this valley called the Ganjgal Valley. I had some issues with the mission. They took me out of my team and replaced me with a guy named Gunnery Sergeant Johnson. And so they went in. After they got in there, they were under attack. We were set up. And basically there was mountains on 3 sides of it. And then they tried to basically close the gap. I call it closing the gap. So basically putting you in what's called a kill sack. And my team was in the front and got caught in that kill sack. And so me and Staff Sergeant Rodriguez Chavez heard them over the radio. You could kind of tell the chaos. So we decided to go in, and we went in, and it took us 4 or 5 trips in. And as we would go in, what we would do is he was driving, I was in the turret, and I would get out of the turret, and then I would just pick up there were bodies everywhere, just everywhere you looked. And so I would get out of the truck, grab the bodies, I'd treat them for what I could, if I could treat them, if I could get a tourniquet on them. If they were going to die, I would try to comfort them until they died, and then I would just throw them in the back of these pickup trucks, and I'd put the dead ones on the bottom, and then put the people who had a chance to live on top, and then I'd send that truck out, and then get another truck and fill it up. And so, we did that 3 or 4 trips in, and then on the last trip, we ended up finding my teammates, and they had all been killed. And then so took them out, and then that was it.
Crazy.
8-hour day.
There's a lot to unpack from that, and there's a lot of things I'm gonna circle back to that have analogies to that. If you guys want to hear more about Dakota's story on this, I recommend you listen to Joe Rogan podcast with Dakota, the Jocko podcast. That one is
That's the deepest one I've ever got into. You
guys really dissect that, but also he's got a book, and I didn't mention Dakota also being an author, but he's got a book that talks about this called Into the Fire,
Into the Fire, yep.
And definitely check that. Use that on audiobook too. They can download that or buy it or however. So certainly, I mean, I'm going to give all the plugs to Dakota throughout this because he's got a lot going on and he's an incredible dude. So I want you guys to check that stuff out. But One of the things that you said was they kicked you off that team because you had issues with the mission, and I know you overtrained for a lot, or everyone else thought you were overtraining and you were like, well, I'm here at war and I'm training to fight. So you were learning all kinds of different things and training for this, training for that. And everyone's like, yo, we're not here to fight. We're here to assist. Right. Because like you were saying, you were there to train the Afghan soldiers how to fight for themselves. Essentially, we were there to assist them. And everyone's giving you shit, making fun of you for
I actually got kicked off. Honestly, I got kicked off the team. My first sergeant, because I brought up in an after a mission, we always do these. It's called it's called a hot wash or after action. Like basically, everybody stands around and you talk about what you did good, what you did bad. And we had like literally, like, pardon my language, we had like the whole team had fucked up this entire mission. Like literally, it was
just a shit show.
Yeah, and it was a perfect example of what it would be like on September 8, 2009. And I raised my hand and I was like, hey, why are we not talking about the things we did wrong? And my first sergeant literally kicked me out of the team, made me sleep on the flight line, moved my rack away from my entire team, sleep on the flight line, told me I was going home. He didn't want me to go to Afghanistan with him. This is in training. And you know, they say you train like you fight, and it's like, well, you
got to learn from your failures, right? I mean, that's how you get better.
But what I'm saying is,
if you're not willing to acknowledge those failures.
That was his solution to it, and it was the same solution as in Afghanistan, right? When shit hit the fan, and like literally wouldn't let me talk to the team. Like literally told my own Marines around me, like that I was in the team with, no, don't talk to me. I couldn't eat with them, nothing, because of this. And he's the same one that gets out and talks shit about me and all this, and his wife does too. And I don't want to go down the whole rabbit hole and give them more attention than they deserve. But you know, like, yeah, I mean, they all just like, none of them, I was always trying to push people to be better. I was training every day for in case if a September 8th happened. And thank God I did.
Thank God
I did, right?
Yeah, and it could have played out potentially even better, because a lot of the things that you were bringing up, I know about how come everyone's on the same frequency,
yes.
How all these different things that you kept bringing up that they wanted to not acknowledge and push off and put you off. You're like, nah, you don't know what we're doing. This is what we're doing. And didn't want to acknowledge it.
100%.
Could have been a different outcome.
Yeah, they led the same way in combat as they did in training.
It's really unfortunate. My point to that, though, is, you know, here you are knowing that you're going into war zone. You're training for this potential day to come. You want to be prepared, and then later on in life you have kids.
Yeah.
Do you think you can train for that?
You know, I don't think you can. I mean, I think there's ways. Like I think there's a lot that parents can do to, like, you know, I don't think you can ever train for anything unless it's like unless you know the exact stage
scenario, right?
Scenario. Like if it's a laid out scenario, controlled environment, you can absolutely train for that, right? Like bowling. You can train for bowling. You can train for, you know, you can train for certain things, right? But it's kind of like, you know, football or anything else. You don't train for anything, like for the game. You train for everything for the situation in case you get into it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I think there's the same thing with parenting, is like you can do more to get ready to empower yourself to be ready for that situation.
It's tough too. How old are your kids now? You got 2 girls, by the way.
2 girls,
for everyone listening.
Sailor and athlete. I have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Okay, they're younger than I thought. I was thinking they're a little bit older.
2 and 3.
My kids are 5 and 8.
Yeah.
So I'm going through some crazy shit.
Yeah.
You know, and then Alex's kids are your ages, you know, 1 and 3.
Well, 1.5 and 3.5.
Yeah. So
twins. But, we had the 3 under 3.
Twins.
Yeah.
He's got twins. And
all boys.
Yeah. So,
all boys?
All boys.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, lucky, right? I love my girls. So how do you feel about having girls? It was like one of those things where you wish you were going to have boys, but you had the girls and you just love it, right?
I'm going to tell you right now.
You're soft now, aren't you?
I would never switch.
Right?
No.
It's hard. It's hard, though. Because so my point in bringing up training and being prepared, because buddy shit comes up that you just ain't ready for.
We constantly say that there's no
instruction manual for parenting. Like there's the in case they choke and things like that you can train for, of course. But like everyday scenarios, like my daughter, first day of 3rd grade, second grade? Anyway, no, maybe it wasn't the first day. A couple weeks in, this was towards the end of 2nd grade.
Yeah.
Here it is. But she, some kids threatens to kill her.
Oh, it's on. It's on. Listen, I don't.
And I'm like, how do I deal with this?
I don't make the rules of this gang shit, but I'm here to fight.
Right, but I'm like, okay, hold on. So then I have to kind of like dissect this and start to like think about it, and I'm like, okay, she's 7 at the time or something. She's sensitive, so maybe this was blown out of proportion on her end, or maybe it was just was it harmless, like pew pew, they're having fun in the cafeteria, or was it this angry, I'm gonna kill you? Like, I need to know the context. I want to know what the scenario was, the school cameras, who said what, da da da, and so you're like all these questions. So then I go meet with the teacher. I want to know what's going on. What's this kid's family like? Of course, they're like, I can't really say who it is, but that's his desk right there. If you want to go check out his desk, that has his name on it. You know what I mean? So she was super cool about it and things like that. But it was like, and like his desk is also the one that's isolated over there in the corner all by itself. If that tells you anything.
Your daughter told you that. Your daughter.
No, she was totally fine. She's like, that's his desk by itself in the corner over there that might have his name on it if you want to know. You know what I mean? But of course, my daughter's at that point, she's like, oh, it was so and so.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and then but she wasn't the one that said the first thing. Turns out it was one of the other kids at the table that was like concerned about it that said the first thing to another teacher. We found out later. So it was like it was bad enough for another student to go tell a teacher. She was like kind of thrown off by that. But I make screwed up jokes all the time, like when their finger hurts, like we'll just cut it off, you know. Like so she's used to like kind of humor in like that kind of way. So, but then she got upset by it and told somebody, and then it got escalated. And now that kid, thankfully, isn't at that school anymore. But yeah, it's true. I was like, but you can't train for that.
No,
you're like, oh God, how you what you think you're gonna do, but then it comes up, or like when your kid's in danger because of some other parent or something, and then you're like, listen, oh hell no.
I got you. Last year, a little bit before this time, you know, I had a guy trying to kill me and my family, and you know, I had to put armed security on my kids at school, you know, while they tried to catch this guy. You know, he showed up at my house in Kentucky, had a week-long manhunt out there for him. It was a 90-day manhunt, but they week-long manhunt out there. They landed Blackhawks out there trying to hunt him down. Secret Service, FBI, and the
Do you
marshals.
have extra resources available to you like that as a Medal of Honor recipient or anything?
No, nothing. I mean, all of it comes out of my pocket.
Dude.
I mean, you know, obviously, honestly, the only reason that the government was hunting this guy like this was because he also called, it was me and Donald Trump he wanted to kill. And so they were hunting him for Donald Trump, but thank God that they were hunting him, because if not, then, you know, I've got to worry about this psycho, right? And, yeah, I mean, you didn't know it. He said he was coming, you know, he wanted to come fight, and then, you know.
How did it turn into you?
I don't, you know, I think I don't know, he'd went after my ex you know, her family, like he's just one of those obsessed with that. There's another one that's obsessed with them that,
you have a history of a lot of things in public. You guys can look up a lot about Dakota, unfortunately.
Don't believe all of it.
But you were married, your ex-wife is Sarah Palin's daughter.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of like things that are around that politics
and all this
crap.
All the craziness.
But yeah.
And then, you know, we've had people literally threaten, literally threaten people that my ex-wife have never even met, like writing us, telling us that he's going to like literally try to go to the courts, saying he's going to go to the courts or tries to go to the courts to get a paternity test because he says that my kids are his. Like, it's this crazy shit. like you talk about like, and you deal with this, and it's like, and it's so unfortunate you never get to meet these people. Like, you never get to meet them. They never show up.
Yeah.
And it's just so terrible, you know. But yeah, I mean, you've always got something. It seems like it's always.
It's crazy, and you can't be prepared for that next phase or that next thing, and you know something comes up, and you're like, "Fuck! All right, that's where we're at now. Now I've got to figure out how to deal with my kid says this, or somebody at school talks about that, and you're like, how do you even know about that?
How did you explain to your kids about the like armed?
I didn't. You know, I think they overheard some talking about it, but young. I mean. Yeah, no, I never told him. I mean, you know, I had to contact the school and be like, hey, you know, if you see this guy sitting in the parking lot, like he was a Navy SEAL and he does have guns on him and he will like.
Oh, he was trained too. It wasn't just some psycho. He was a Navy SEAL.
Oh no, he's a Navy SEAL.
Oh yeah, that's a good problem.
Yeah, I mean, no. The guy that was coming after us wasn't trained.
Oh, okay.
The guy that we had was security was like he was a former Navy SEAL.
I thought the guy that you guys were looking for, the threat, was from former Navy SEAL.
No.
That could have been a
Yeah,
problem.
that would have been a real problem.
Yeah.
I'd have probably pulled my kids out and we'd left, right? Homeschool.
I've thought about that actually, because
Yeah.
weird things, just because of like, I want to get into some other stuff that you've talked about too, but like the things they're exposed to now with technology
Yeah.
is
It's scary.
It's scary.
I don't know where I would end up if I had this type of technology.
You know
at
what
my
I mean?
fingertips
But
in
like,
middle school.
it's technology that exposes them to things, both good and bad. There's great things that come from it. My daughter discovered gymnastics through YouTube,
Yeah.
and now she's incredible, and she's like competing at, and she's so good at it. And she was exposed to it through YouTube and all this stuff. But then there's the negative side of it where they can see things that you don't want them to. Even if you try to protect them from seeing those things, there's still loopholes and things that slip through the cracks, or they're at a friend's house and those parents don't monitor those devices, or
Yeah.
that their friend has a 14-year-old older brother who sees things and talks about
But
it.
I think that goes back to the same thing, like whether you're preparing to go to combat, whether you're preparing to be a father. I think that goes back to what your core responsibility as being a parent is. It's like, I don't care whether they're 5 or they're 25. You can't control the situations that they're going to be faced with. You can't control the opportunities, whether they're good or bad, that they're going to be presented with. All you can do is fully instill in them and engrave in them the core values of what being a good human being is, the thought process on, hey, everything that you do has a consequence, everything, whether it's a good consequence or a bad one. And I think once you start giving them those tools, like that is your job, is to empower them to be able to make these decisions. Because you can't control everything. I mean, how many people do you know that, they controlled their kids all the way up to high school and then they get in fucking college and they're wild,
That
right?
shit crazy.
So I want my kids to be exposed to this stuff. Like I want my kids to understand, but here's where it comes into it is if I know that another parent is not a good parent, well, it's not about me saying, telling my kids that, but like I don't hang around people that aren't good parents. I show my kids how they should do it, because kids mimic. Mm-hmm. They mimic you, and they're gonna do like us here, us sitting here. It's you have a huge responsibility. You got all boys, so your job literally is 2 huge things. It's to, number one, show them what a man is every single day. Show them what protecting, providing, all those core things that a man is supposed to do.
Yep.
Respecting women, putting them on a pedestal. And then also, even more importantly, is showing them how to be a husband and showing them how to treat a woman.
Yeah.
Like that's the 3 that you have to do, because they're going to do what you do. Mm-hmm. Same thing with me and you. We have to show our daughters
how a man's supposed to treat them.
How a man's supposed to treat them. We're supposed to show them. We set the standard for what our daughters will marry.
That's it.
We set the standard for what our daughters will marry. And if we go out and we treat women like shit, or we talk about women like shit, why would we ever expect our daughters will accept that? That'll be their new standard. If
Right.
we go and we talk about other women like, oh, this woman looks like shit, or we talk negative about another woman, our daughters are going to have insecurity problems. It's our job. It's our job. That is our core job, is to do that as parents, and not worry about, like, obviously, like, yeah, don't encourage them being in bad situations, but recognizing that there are, and every day that we have with them, every little moment that we have with them, preparing them for that. And if we do that, you ain't got to worry about what little Johnny's doing over here or that, right? Like, as long as our kids know that we're going to be there to support, protect, and provide for them, then the rest of it, you can't spend your time wasting, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I get it.
That's what I believe parenting is.
I think you nailed it.
It's so hard to keep that focus in a way too.
That's super difficult
I mean, it's
for
just
anybody, even when you know that in your head. I mean, because there's the things that come up on a daily basis just piss you off, or this or that, and it's like
remind myself that they're 3, and I'm like, okay,
yeah, of course.
How do I put this into context so you understand? Just consistency of like discipline. If I keep saying like you can't it's a yes ma'am, no ma'am. It's just that's what we just
Well,
feed into their head. Just
but if you do it every day, though, if you practice it every day, it ain't about like, look, I mean, it's not necessarily look at 3, at 5, at 18. They're not going to understand why you're doing this. But when they have kids, they'll definitely understand it. My dad always told me, he said, I don't care what you think of me today. I care what you think of me when you're 30 years old. When you think of me when you have kids. And me and my dad, I didn't necessarily like my dad all the time. Like, I mean, and I'm sure he didn't like me all the time. But you know what? I never questioned if he loved me. And I never questioned if he was doing and being hard on me for a reason. Yeah. You know what I mean?
To make you better.
To make me better.
I think so many parents forget that your job isn't to be their friend. No. It's your job to be their parent, instill those values that, to make them a better human being and a better person in this world. And, giving them everything they want and not like, I mean, my kid threw a tantrum. I had to strap him down in the car seat today because he didn't want to put on a certain T-shirt. And I was like, your mom picked out that shirt. You're going to do this. And just like, you got to follow through with it. And it's like, I could easily have just said, yeah, let me give you whatever you want to make you happy. But that's not the point. The point is this is what we're doing today. Yes. We're going to follow through with it. And you're going to be mad about it. But so you get him in the car, and when you drop him off at daycare, happy kid.
Well, you're not going to like it. But guess what? You're going to have to do something today that you don't like.
Yep.
There's going to be more days like that. And for me, I live by this one strategy, and I have to stay focused on this, because if I don't, everything else I told you falls through. And I want my daughters to suffer. I want my daughters to suffer. Like, I don't wish it on them. They need to suffer. But now I don't, like, there's a difference in suffering and there's a difference in fear. I don't want my daughters to ever have fear. Mm-hmm. They should never be scared, because guess what? I will be there for them no matter what. But it is okay for my kids to suffer.
Those adversities create drive and motivation, and, suffering through things, makes you stronger.
That's the only way you get stronger. Like, look at physically.
Well, yeah, right. In fitness, you got to break down your muscle. You've got to break it down so it can rebuild and get bigger. See, breaking it down is the only way it can get bigger.
And every time you push yourself, like if you've never ran a mile and you go run a mile and you run a mile every day for 10 days, well, by the 10th day, that mile's easier. And then you run 2 miles. And so every challenge that my kids are faced with, every
challenge,
every challenge, I mean, look, I'm not saying I want my kids to ever suffer. So, like I'm not saying that in a terrible way. Like, I don't take it that way. But I'm saying it is okay for my kids to suffer, and they're gonna suffer. And I realize that, and I keep that in perspective. And I always ask myself, are my kids scared, or are they suffering, right? Or are they learning? And like all those things, there's nobody who learns without suffering. Nobody learns when they win and they're comfortable.
Mm-hmm. There's so many. I don't even know where. There's so many places to go from here. Speaking of being uncomfortable, I think you guys, your training and things like that. That talks. You talk a lot about get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's life. You know what I mean? The same with parenting. Same with you just have to prepare you just aren't going to be. There's things that are going to rise you don't know how to deal with. You deal with it the best you think you can and move on. And that's what it is. You talk about perspective. And I know you have a lot of things to say about perspective, but a quote I heard through you, and I don't know if it was from you or somebody that you were quoting, but you talk about the perspective of people having what they think is problems.
Yeah. Or inconveniences.
Versus inconveniences. Yeah. And, a lot of parents use their problems in life as an excuse to why they're not doing this or why they can't do that or whatever. And you explain problems and inconveniences. You explain it for them, because I don't want to. Yeah,
I was going through my divorce, and I'm telling you, like, my divorce, I'd rather do 1,000 Afghanistans than I would one divorce like I went through. Just for a lot of reasons. I mean, tons of reasons.
It was brutal.
It was.
You got the public media involved and all kinds of.
It was brutal.
Nonsense.
I didn't marry my ex-wife to get divorced, right? I didn't have kids with her to get divorced. I didn't. It's by far the biggest failure of my life. And so I was really down about it, having tons of problems at that time, really just in my head. And a guy looked at me and he just set it down and made it so clear. And he said, "Look, Dakota," he said, He goes, can money fix it? Can you making a choice fix it? And I was like, yeah, pretty much everything can be fixed by all those. He goes, well, the day that either one of those don't fix it, the day that you can't fix it by doing something or working harder or writing a check, that's a day that it becomes a problem. The day that your kids got cancer, the day that you got cancer, the day that, the day that, something like that happens that you can't make a decision and control and it's completely out of your hands, that's when you got problems. Until then, you just got inconveniences. And I hear what you're saying, and I'm going to tell you right now, being a parent, not being a parent, being a good parent or being the best parent that I can be is the hardest job I've ever done. Like, it is let's just be real here. And this is like, a lot of parents don't say this. Everybody always looks at you and goes, man, you're in the best time of your life right now. And it's like, it's fucking hard.
I always say that
you're at war with domestic terrorists.
You get a lot of full-time, first-time parents, and it's like it ain't like Instagram, man.
It ain't.
You get that one pretty photo when you have the baby, and then that first night you are losing your mind because you're like, it's screaming. The mom doesn't know how to nurse. Are we feeding it formula? I'm tired. Like, there's a human. Is it breathing? Is it not? You have no clue what you're doing, and you're at DEFCON level, kind of just threat level. You feel like you're just
and it's maxed out, and it's day in and day out, and it's 100. I mean, it's incredible, and I think people don't talk about that. And my being a parent's hard, so let's recognize that it's okay. It's okay to say being a parent's hard.
Yeah. We've got a shirt. We're not a new saying to it, but in a parenting context of embracing the suck.
Yeah, embracing the suck.
That's just what you're doing.
But it's the most rewarding job I've ever done. It's by far the most worthy job I've ever done, right? But you all know as well as I do. You know it real well. It's harder to discipline our kids than to just say, hey, just go on and do that. It's harder to stick to those standards.
100%. It's consistent. So hard. And you feel at times you have to pick those battles. There's things that you know you're letting slide and you feel like you shouldn't, but you're just going to let it slide because you've had like in a ridiculous 2 days, you can't deal with it anymore, and you're like defeated by your kid, and you just let something slide, feeling like I'm paying for this later because I let this slide. And I'm not
gonna lie, like I walk in and like if my kids were around, everybody around me, all the parents around me look at me and they go, you're really hard on your kids. And you know what I say back to them? Like, everybody's like, oh gosh, like, let them be kids. And I look at them and I go, they are kids. And I'm hard on them because I know what they're capable of. Yeah. And I know what I want them to be someday. And I know that I want to prepare them for how I know for a fact how hard this world is. And just for that sole reason, I'm going to be that much harder on them to prepare them for this ruthless, nasty world. Like, my daughters aren't going to be able to have to rely on a man. They're going to respect a man. They're going to want to have a family, and they're going to want all those things. But I tell you this, they're not going to rely on one. They're not going to live by their likes on their Instagram. They're not going to live by, they're not going to get their fulfillment by the court of public opinion, because my girls are going to know who they are. They're going to know their strengths and weaknesses, and they're going to know how much they matter.
Mm-hmm. You said something that jogged a thought. You're hard on them. And you also mentioned, people babying their kids, through high school or through this or that, I think you said. But, people baby their kids to a certain point, and then they expect them to just know how to deal with the world. Yeah. And if you're not somewhat difficult on them and preparing them from what the world actually has to offer, they're getting thrown into the lion's den, and they are not prepared whatsoever. And then it's like they're struggling to make it in the world. They're looking for something to make them feel better, and then all kinds of crazy things happen from that.
Yeah, and then it's your fault. And then it's your fault. It's your fault.
You set them up for failure.
It's your fault that your kid's stealing instead of going and getting a job. It's your fault that your kid hangs around terrible kids. Like, because were you hard on them? Did you discipline them? Maybe if you hadn't been their friend and you showed them what right and wrong was, they wouldn't be having these problems, right? Like, I truly believe that. Like, a lot of parents will be like, oh, no, that's not true. Like, obviously there's some cases you don't have any control of. But I'll tell you this right now, like if you're the parent that goes, oh no, like it's just their bad decisions, then you know what, like I'm sure that they're blaming everybody else for their problems too, and it sounds like you're doing the exact same thing. So they are a direct reflection of their parents.
Yep. You mentioned that earlier when we were talking about being a direct reflection. You've mentioned this too. A lot of things are things that I know you've mentioned, so I want you to elaborate on it. But, you're a product of your surrounding and the people you hang out with. You are fortunate enough, and you've put yourself in the circle of people now who are just incredible humans. Jocko and Tim Kennedy, and like just all these amazing people that you have a circle of people around that I imagine share a lot of these very good moral values and just have a high level of expectation. I don't know about Jocko if he's a parent or not, but I know Tim's got
Jocko, Tim, Jocko, all of them. Marcus Luttrell.
Yeah. Like those are great people to have your kids around their kids and families. And, there's people I've had to start weeding out of my life who, as they become parents, I'm like, bro, I love you to death, but like, I can't have my kids around you and your kids because this just ain't gonna work.
100% though. I mean, but those people are the same people that you probably knew before that
wouldn't be a great parent.
Well, they probably weren't great friends before that, right? Like they probably weren't great influences. Not great friends, but great influences.
There can be a difference.
There can be a difference. There can be a difference, right? Like I got plenty of guys that would show up and would bury a body all day long, right? But there's no way that I would even trust them watching my dog.
Yeah.
So I think that comes down to something you got to recognize. But I'm so fortunate. I mean, if you look at the circle around me, that's the one thing that I'm nothing special. I've never been anything special. I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not the fastest. I've never been anything like that. But I am
average dude.
Average dude. I'm like, probably at the bottom of average. But like, I don't know why, I've always had this ability to find people who believed in me more than I could ever see myself. Growing up, coaches, my dad, I mean, I was just so lucky. Like how lucky could I get to have this incredible man adopt me? Right. I mean, and I had a choice there. I could go down the road and live a certain way, or I could go follow him. Like life is full of choices. You can't control the circumstances that you're thrown at you. None of us can. We have zero control of everything around us, as much as we think we do. Our job, our life, our business, our kids' health. We have zero control of that. If we're getting in a car tomorrow, or if I could have a heart attack right now. Like we have zero control of that. But what we do have 110% control is how we react to that, and what we do after we're presented with that, right? Mm-hmm. And I've always been so fortunate. Now my circle is so incredible. You got Jocko. I consider Jocko a brother. You got, Pete and Brian from Origin. You got Tim Kennedy, Shane Steiner. You got, Chris Schmidt. You got Toby Young. I mean, you go down the list of Marcus Luttrell, Morgan Luttrell, Nick Bear. I mean, you go down the list of these people that I'm surrounded by, and you're like I look around at them, and I'm like, I can't believe these guys even talk to me. Mm-hmm. I can't believe that these guys would even let me, associate with me, much less, pick the phone up whenever I call them.
Right.
And I'm so fortunate with them. And I truly believe that, when I start seeing my life come off the rails, and we all get there, we all get in those moments where we're like, man, everything's going wrong. I always start with, who am I spending my time with? And it usually goes back to, I'm not spending it with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like usually that's where I start with.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be around positive people with those core moral values.
Well, not just that. People who push you. People who make you want to be better. People who don't tell you what you want to hear, but they tell you exactly what you need to hear, and they look at you and they're like, you're fucked up right now.
Dude, that's the most valuable friend. I mean, yes, people are not the best, that are like, yeah, it's perfect, it's great, it's awesome, you're doing great, or this and that. Like, they just tell you what you want to hear, that you're doing great all the time. I don't want to hear that. I want constructive criticism, like, nah, that sucked, do it again, or whatever the case is. But yeah, that makes great friends. Honesty, like they're like,
well, they'll tell you how it is, but they're there to encourage you as well
and support.
There's
it.
the difference. You don't just beat someone up, over what they're doing wrong, and then without feeling like they got your back too. Hey, you're messing up. Let's go do better.
100%. And I'm so lucky in that way. Like I'm so lucky. So lucky. I'm so fortunate to have the people around me. When you talk about iron sharpens iron, I mean, it's true. It's true. You are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah. Back to technology, kids, things like that. You were talking to Joe Rogan about video games.
Yeah. Like a lot of people started hitting me on this, and
really?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people were like, "Oh, internet memes, and this guy's a dumbass, and this and that." And it's like, I never said So first off, I'll say up front, I don't think that video games cause mass shootings and stuff like that. I don't at all.
It's a perspective thing. Right?
It is, but what I do think, though, I do 110% think this is that with and people are like, "Oh yeah, Pac-Man caused this." Well, if you go back 10 years ago, we didn't have the clarity. I mean, I remember Madden 10 years ago. I mean, or 12, 15 years ago. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, the quality of it was shit.
Right, the graphics,
right? The graphics and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's not a coincidence. I don't think that it's not a direct correlation that our HD TVs have gotten so much realer. Like, it's not like the old Wild West where, a guy shoots a guy and he's like laying there like, and it's like shitty quality. I mean, you're watching dudes get their
really
heads...
bad acting.
Really bad acting. But you're watching like dudes get their fucking heads split open and blown open and looks real. Like, and the realer it gets, and you take a kid who's playing these video games for hundreds of hours, re-exposing to just shooting people, and hundreds of hours of seeing this blood and watching these crazy movies. I can't think that it's not a direct correlation that people are desensitized to other people's suffering at that moment. I mean, most people's first instinct when they see somebody on a car wreck or something like that is to pull their phone up and take a video of it. When all these people watching these people get beat,
right,
pick their phone up and take a video of it. It's entertainment now. There's this is another human being suffering, and I truly believe that. I mean, why as a pilot, let's talk being a pilot, I can get on a video simulator and log hours on that simulator as real pilot time. If I can do that, if it's real enough to do that, you can't tell me that these crazy video games that these kids are playing hundreds and hundreds of hours on is not desensitizing them in some way.
Right. And they take a break from it and they come back and it's like, no big deal. It's hollow feelings.
Yeah, hey, watch all these people die on this video game, and let me go in here and eat a sandwich.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I don't know. And at the end of the day, what people can argue or not, I have a huge fundamental problem. Look, if you're over 18, do whatever the hell you want, at whatever age that society says is an adult. But I have a huge problem with children. Now listen, children playing video games of the same shit that keeps me up at night.
Let that sink in for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I have a fundamental problem of watching these kids play video games for the same things that keep me awake at night, that give me nightmares, and finding entertainment off that. Kids, adults can do whatever they want. Children. So if your kid's 9, 10 years old, 11 years old, and you're letting them sit there and play these killing video games, yeah, you know my opinion of you. That's not parenting.
No.
That's interesting when you put it in that
I mean,
light.
let me ask you this. Would you let them go watch porn? Would you let your 9 and 10-year-old go watch hours of porn?
Nope.
Well, so why would you let them go watch murder people? So murdering people is I mean, you look at Joe Rogan, right? Is better than porn?
Yeah.
Like, you would not, you can't have a conversation with them about sex education, and you wouldn't want them watching porn. If you don't want them watching porn, you don't need them looking at killing people.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy what society thinks is normal. And I know this was talked about on Joe.
It was.
I mean, it's just
Joe took it to a whole other level, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he
but
did.
It's true.
He did take it on another level. But it's true. What society thinks is okay and normal and acceptable is so strange. When you really dissect it, what Joe was saying, if you haven't listened, and just for the people listening here, is it's okay. Like, sex is something that everybody wants and enjoys. And then but that's like taboo and you don't talk about it. You don't. The kids can't see it, but like murder, they're like, are you killing people is okay and acceptable?
People are going to say, oh, well, it's not real on a video game and sex is real. Okay. Both of them are put on this to look real, to be real.
Yep. Really interesting. Really, really interesting.
That's just my 2 cents on it.
Come a long way from Mario Kart, like the old school, you know,
Right.
like, I mean, that's what,
Duck Hunter.
you know, it's like
Duck
I played,
Hunter.
Yeah.
because even that, you know, the duck then just falls and it's like,
You see like 2 feathers come up and the graphics are really terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I enjoyed those games, but I still, even at that, like, we'd play it for, if it was a rainy day, we'd play that for a few hours, but like otherwise we were outside.
Yeah,
like,
man.
So,
I was always outside.
I mean, we're kind of, I guess, as you look at a lot of other parents and what I've started to witness as my kids get older, like, my kids get very little screen time. Like,
Screen time.
So, like, they never look at a phone. They like, it's crazy how intuitive they are when they do, like, grab your phone off the table, and I'll occasionally play, like, a YouTube video of some song.
Baby shark doo doo doo.
Thank goodness. They've listened to it, but they don't request that. But like I mean, they got like my kids basically have to have the flu and they're sitting on the couch for me to like turn on the TV or you know the wife's at home and they're just losing their marbles and it's like let's like almost reset them for a second because they don't. But it's like we're talking 5-10 minutes and that's only been recent. Like I don't know. I struggle with the idea of a kid with like they're in genius mode when they're like 1 to 5. Like their brains are soaking in so much, and then you're getting still images like that in their brains, even at 9, 10.
It's.
I
mean, those early years is how you develop as a human, and like when you ruin it with something.
Again, you wonder why like kids that and just on the playground seem to just like it almost not even like realize. Like you said, like a kid falls down and it's like, let's take a photo of him. It's like, why don't you help him pick him up? Because he just broke his arm, Yeah.
Like, well, that's the difference between you. I mean, you talk about being an average guy.
Yeah.
But you put yourself in pretty above average situation. You know what I mean? And you put yourself there.
But I mean, But on the backside of it, like you take September 8, 2009. I could have sat where we were at in my vehicle. Never went in and never helped anybody.
As they wanted you to do.
I went against orders.
Right.
I was ordered to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
I could have literally sat there and done nothing. But like.
That's what I'm saying. You put yourself into an above average situation where
because
you were
I care for people. Because like.
Because your parents instilled that in you?
100%. 100%. My dad, you know what? He never gave a shit who you were. He didn't give a shit how much money you got, what your last name was. Like what clothes you had on. Like my dad's going to treat you the same as everybody else. And my dad would give you the shirt off his back. He would do anything for you. I mean, like, it was instilled in me, my whole life of just treating people how you want to be treated. It's a simple way of life.
Heard that my entire life growing up.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you just do not hear that as much anymore. It's sad.
And I'm driving down the road. I mean, I do it every day. I don't know why. Like I have this empathy for people. Like I don't know. Like I can't stand to see people suffer. Like I can't stand it.
You made a comment about this from your story when you're fighting with this dude.
Yeah.
And how you're like, neither one of us thought we were wrong. Like we're just two dudes.
Yeah. Neither one of us thought, like I even look at, enemy combatants that I took out, that, other human beings just like me and you, that like I've literally looked them in the whites of their eyes and took their lives from them. And they would have done the same for me, done the exact same to me. Let's get that to me. Let's get that up front. And do I feel sorry for it? No. Like we were both there to do a job and we both did our job. Now take off that uniform and they were willing to do the devil's bidding. And, the only reason we were there was because of where we were born. They literally, I mean, if that guy would have been born in the United States of America, we wouldn't be, like, he would have had different beliefs. If I would have been born over there, I'd have had different beliefs. They were the product of their environment, of what they were raised by. You talk about ideas and what the ideas you put in your kid's head and you tell them are okay. All these ideas that you instill in them, and here's the thing is if you as parents don't take stances and don't instill ideas in your kid's head, somebody else fucking will.
Amen.
If you don't instill what right and wrong is, if you don't tell them what right and wrong is, and you don't instill the love for other people, if you don't instill that this is how you treat women and this is how you treat men, if you don't instill all these in them, somebody else will. And let me tell you how strong ideas are. Just ideas alone. Ideas are, at the end of the day, the root to all good and to all evil. It's literally ideas. Your business, what was it started on? An idea. Why did we, break off from the British? The idea of freedom, the idea of democracy, the idea, look at Christianity, the idea of Christianity, the idea of being a Muslim, right? Like, you go down the list of everything, you go down the list of all this. The roots from all the way from Jonestown or whatever it is, Jonestown to anything. You take Hitler. It all drove down to an idea. So if you want to empower your kids to be the best child that they can be, you better instill the ideas in them that you know are right and wrong, because if you don't, somebody else will.
I think so many people are afraid to, provide opinion. I shouldn't say opinions, but almost go against the grain. It seems like now to be like, well, that's right and that's wrong, because you don't want to offend someone, when really what that person is saying or doing is offensive to what we consider right and wrong.
Well, there is right and
wrong. They don't want to. It's almost like they don't want to address it because they're like, oh, let's just pretend we didn't see that kids on the soccer field when some man was yelling at his wife or something. It's like, you're almost like, oh, well, let's just pretend like that didn't happen, as opposed to being like, son, that's wrong.
Yep. Do you ever see dad treat your mom like that? No, there's a reason, right? Like these ideas, there's a difference in having, having standards or having core values. There's a difference. You can have your beliefs and your core values and not be disrespectful to anyone. Yeah.
That's what I find so amazing anymore. We used to be able to have conversations with people.
Agree to disagree.
Because, I just had some conversations with family. I was at a wedding in San Francisco, and I've got some differing beliefs with my uncle. But it's so refreshing because it was like, all right, well, that's you know what? I hadn't thought that someone would think about something that way. I still disagree with you, but I didn't. That's a new perspective. But okay, love you, uncle. I'm gonna give you a hug and see you at the wedding tomorrow. You know what I mean? There wasn't like I'm gonna throw a fit here because you don't have the same ideals or beliefs as me on everything, and if you're wrong, I'm right, and move on.
Well, if you look at it and you look at all these ideas that people get so offensive over, right? That they just go nuts over. People who are confident and truly believe in their ideas, they don't need you to agree with them to be okay with their ideas. So the people who are out here bitching and they're being the loudest about all their ideas and they need all this awareness on it, it's because they deep down know they're fucking wrong. And they're trying to prove, I have this analogy, but I won't say it on here, but they're trying to, it's almost like that guy, walks around. The people who walk around and talk about how they have the most money and they always talk about money are usually the ones that have the least amount of money. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with these ideas. So anybody can have an idea, and that's cool about the United States of America. It is a free country. Have any idea you want. Look, if somebody didn't have an idea to go to the moon that sounds crazy, then we would have never been there, right? This is the world. This is the free world of ideas. So cool. I respect everybody's ideas. I don't necessarily agree with them all, and I don't have to, and that's okay. But we can all come down and treat each other with respect. And that's the biggest thing is you need to tell your kids, you need to instill in them don't let you don't let your kids go get their own ideas. Like, you fundamentally, I mean, yeah, let them dream, obviously. Like, let them be open to the world 100%. But there are some core ideas that
yeah.
you have to instill in them to be able to make educated decisions later on as to if these are good ideas or they're not.
Right. You talk about those ideas and being able to dream and making decisions based on those. And you talk about America being a free country. Like, America is a country that you can have an idea if you make good decisions along the way and you work towards goals and dreams. You can achieve anything you want.
100%.
Like, you could come from nothing and go straight to the top.
100%. This is the only country on the face of the planet that you can start from nothing, poor, and literally become the United States of America, United States president within your generation.
It's pretty incredible.
I mean, we live in the greatest country on the face of the planet, by far. Like, we got our problems. We're kind of like that dysfunctional family, but we still
especially
live.
Now we got all
And I
kinds
hear these people like talking all this smack about, America this, America that, and it's like, look, then move, like, then leave. Nobody, like, I don't see Mexico putting up fences to keep you from going down there. Then leave, like, every day. Like, if you don't like this country and you don't respect the flag and what, it's what amazes me so much is, like, I'm not into politics. I don't care about, like, I think Democrats and Republicans both suck, period. Let me just say it up front. But I get so upset that people want to take such a stance over a red hat that Donald Trump wears, but they can't get that emotional over a flag that protects the very freedoms for them to get emotional after a president. Yeah. There's some countries they get their heads cut off. And it's like, why can't you get that emotional over the flag?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Super. Dakota, you own a business called Own the Dash. Why don't you tell these folks about what Own the Dash means, what that actually means?
I do. So, like, as morbid as it sounds in a way, the one thing I've seen a lot of is death. I've seen a lot of death. A lot of friends died. Been to a lot of funerals, you know what I mean? And for me, like, I have to make sense of everything. Like, I need to make sense of everything, of why, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we talked about this in the car.
Yeah.
So Dakota being a sniper, everything to him is in his head is like a math problem.
Yeah, everything in life's a math problem.
It is. Like, you said this in your book too. It's a zero-sum equation. Everything. So I think you look at the world as everything has to make sense.
Everything adds up. Like, I don't believe in anything that doesn't add up. Like, I don't believe in the sayings of that's a coincidence. I don't believe in the sayings of that doesn't add up or it just because, like, I don't believe in that. Like, I believe there's always a purpose.
There's an answer to everything. There's
100%.
An equation of how it got to what it's going to be or why it needs to be this or whatever.
100%. And I think that, like, with everybody living in those gray areas is why we have so much anxiety and depression in the nation, because, like, people can't get by stuff. I mean, you got 40-year-old people still, they haven't been able to figure out why their parents, didn't love them or some reason, right? Like you still got them, you can't get past that. And it's because, like, well, nobody wants to put accountability on anybody, right? And with accountability, accountability is always past that equal sign. X, Y, Z, whatever it is, adds up to equals accountability. And if you don't get that equal, so anyway, so I started On the Dash. Linda Ellis wrote a poem called The Dash, and she states in it, she talks about how on your last living legacy, that the one thing that we can disagree our whole lives, but we're all going to end up in the same place. We're all going to die, and we're all going to have a tombstone or something like that. But on that tombstone, there's the day you were born and the day you died. And those two dates are really the most insignificant days in your life and the days you have no control over. And also, I'll point out, the only 2 days in your life that aren't 24 hours. But what really matters is that dash in between. And you don't have control of the day you were born or the day you died. but you have control over what that dash looks like every single day.
What that means to the world.
What it means to the world. How you're going to be remembered. What does that dash look like? You get to control what that dash is. You get to control how that dash looks like. You don't get to control how long the dash is. And I think that it's pretty significant. I always say it adds up, right? But I think it's always so interesting that even if you look on a tombstone, the emphasis is on the day you were born and the day you died. The smallest part of that entire tombstone is that dash. And it's like we're all not focused on what matters. If we stay focused on our dash and we wake up every single day and we just make the world, I try to live by three things. Number one, I wake up every day.
This is what I want to know. I want to know how Dakota is owning the dash. What is your legacy and your dash going to mean to the world?
Well, so I wake up, I think before you do that, I think you have to, I wake up with three simple things. I'm a Marine and I'm simple. So I wake up and I appreciate my kids. I start my day with gratitude. I appreciate my kids. I appreciate what the life I have. I appreciate that I don't have any real problems. I appreciate that I live in the greatest country on the face of the planet. I appreciate that I get to wake up in a free country as a free man, and I have the opportunity to build the life that I want to build. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the people around me. And then I try to do something to make myself better that day. What can I do to make Dakota better? Because if I get better, I can help more people. And then the third thing that I do every day is I try to do something to make somebody else's day better. And if I do that every single day, hopefully I'm remembered as the guy who tried to do something better. The guy who changed the world. I literally wake up and I have one goal in my entire life is trying to change the world. And so that's what Own the Dash is owning your dash. Like I don't want to be like you. You don't need to be like me. I don't want to be like you. I don't want to be like anybody else. I want to be me. I want to be the best me. And you be the best you. And you be the best you. And if we're all the best us, like everybody's too busy looking on Instagram, comparing themselves to each other. They're all trying to give the same answers to life. And we're all just taking a different fucking test. And it's like, so that's what Own the Dash is. It's about living a life that's worthy of living. Like I always sum it up to, I just want to live.
Sum it up. Here goes another math problem.
I just want to live my life in a way that honors my teammates. I want to live a life that's worthy of my teammates' sacrifices. And that's what Own the Dash is. Own your dash. Own it. Look, whatever you want to be. I don't care if you're out picking up garbage. Own it. Hey. Be the best guy.
And if someone didn't do that, you'd have crap all over your street and you got to treat that person with the same level of respect because you're not doing it.
You know, that's the one thing I try to be conscious of is whether I'm going in and doing events, whether I'm running my business, is I always try to take, and my grandpa taught me this, you know, he was hard on everybody, tell you he's hard on everybody, but he always thanked them for their work. They always remembered that. And every time I get a chance, whether it's a security guard, whether it's a woman bringing food at an event, whether it's the people behind the scenes that's putting up the stuff, the sound people, whatever, I always let them know that I appreciate them. And I always try to consciously go out of my way to let them know that I appreciate them and what they're doing in their work because they matter. Mm-hmm. It takes all of us on this planet to make the world go round. And no matter what you're doing, you matter. And there's nobody who's more significant in this world than the other. I don't care if you're the CEO of the biggest company in the world, you're president of the United States, or you are whatever it is that you do. Like everybody, it takes everybody to make the world go round, and everybody is important, and everybody's significant, and everybody matters. And you need to know that.
Yep. I mean, everyone's got a job to do, and those things get done. The world goes around. It's a happy place, ideally, right? Ideally.
Exactly.
Couple last questions. This was some questions that we try to ask everybody.
I like it.
What are some of the things that you do to discipline your kids?
So I do. So my buddy, I just started this. I've been struggling with like, am I too hard on him? Am I not? So now I have it's a set technique, and I don't get off of it. Right? It's the 3 strikes. First time I'll tell you. I always explain it to you. Second time I'll explain it to you like, hey, look, so I told you don't do this. This is why we don't do this. Do you understand what not doing this is?
and I've already asked you to stop doing this once.
Yes.
I think 3 strikes is a good thing, and I've never really thought about it in that way, but it's a very similar way, right? Like you kind of have that talk, like, listen, I've already said this again. If you do it again, there's gonna be it's escalating, right? It's just like same. Yeah, thing.
Hey, look, I'll treat you with respect first time. Hey, don't do this. Second time, I'll make sure you understand what don't do that is and why I'm saying don't do this. And third time, like I'm gonna spank your ass because that's life. Mm-hmm. And you know, like people who don't spank their kids or whatever, like, oh, okay, I like that. That's your way. But and I'll tell you this: if I tell them the thing I try to be the biggest on, like the biggest thing I try to instill in that whole thing, is if I tell them that if you do this again, this is what I'm going to do. I will follow through with it. I'm like, gosh, why did you have to bring me to this? Why? I don't want to do this, but I told you I will. So guess what? And I think that's so important in 2 reasons. Number 1, that you will hold them accountable. Mm-hmm. But number 2, that if you tell them that you're going to be there to protect them, that
they'll believe that.
That they believe that.
It's a trust factor. He does what he says he's going to do.
It's a trust factor.
We do the warn them, or like say no, like explain it, and then put you in a closet, shut the door, set timer for 3 minutes.
Yeah,
you're hollering, whining, you come out. Daddy loves you. This is why I put you in timeout. If you want to escalate this again, we'll escalate the consequence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other 2 things I always try to do too is I try to, every chance I get, I tell my daughters I love them. Every opportunity I get, I don't care if I tell them 100 times a day, I don't like, even if I'm FaceTiming and all I tell them is I love them. Like I make sure that I look them in the eyes and tell them that I love them. And the other thing is that anytime, unless they're being lazy, like, you know, if they just like, I don't want to walk or something like that. Like unless they're being lazy, anytime they ask me to pick them up, I pick them up. Because I think it's always important for them to know that I'll be there to pick them up.
Yeah, I don't think you can overlove a child. It's just how you again, are you catering to their laziness or catering to their, my kid skinned his knee and it's like, okay, I love you. You're okay. You're good. I'm putting you down. You're crying again. Like,
man,
you're okay. We got to toughen up a little bit. You're allowed to express emotion because I want my kids to be emotionally. I want my kids to have a deep emotional intelligence. It's okay for a man to cry.
100%.
That's okay. Let's talk about this. But now, if you're just kind of whining and whimpering because you want my attention,
nope.
All right, now we're kind of cutting it off here. But mm-hmm. I don't think you there's no way you can overlove a child.
No, and you
or a spouse or
you're talking
anything.
about your kids skinning their knee, and I said man up, and it brings me back to a thought that I wanted to touch on earlier is kind of our mission statement of this company, right? Just like we are here to help dads to give them another level of enthusiasm to man up and be a dad, to not have to shy away from it because they have to. Like one of the very first things you have to do as a dad is like you're changing diapers, you're carrying a diaper bag. It's a huge part of like early days, and it sets the tone, for a lot of dads who just shy away a little bit because of a diaper bag, which is really sad. But we created this bag and this brand and this company now that exists that like encourages being a dad, that puts you on a different level of enthusiasm to be a dad, that gets you more excited to be a dad in the early stages. Step 1. That hopefully that carries through. We just had Gary Vee on the podcast, and he talks about how he thinks more men in America should, if they feel it deep inside of them too, that they're a more nurturing parent, or they think they're more nurturing than their wife or whatever, that there's nothing wrong with them being a stay-at-home dad. It takes a hell of a person to be a stay-at-home parent, mom, dad,
hardest job
whatever.
In the world.
And very little gratitude for stay-at-home parents. Like my wife, any of our children's mothers that stay, like you stay at home with your kids, you're a single dad, you're at home with your kids, like it is no joke.
Stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home parents are by far, I have the utmost respect for them.
Incredible amount. What are your thoughts on some of that stuff? What are your thoughts on current society? Not some men not stepping up to the plate.
Well, I think a lot of men don't step up to the plate just to call it what it is because they're lazy. I honestly think that a lot of men don't step up because their priorities are off. They're not dialed in on their priorities. Like I hear dads all the time, not all the time, but I've heard quite a few dads go, yeah, when my kids were growing up, I never changed a diaper. And I'm like, well, you're a douchebag.
Right.
Like you're a piece of shit.
Or
like
that's a woman's job.
I never got up with my kids in the middle of the night. So you put all of it on your wife?
Mm-hmm. Here's what's really funny is we catch so much heat as a brand as this toxic masculinity, where in fact we're trying to bring it to a level playing field and saying it's not just a woman's job.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what masculinity is. First off, masculinity, like of what people are identifying as masculinity, is the problem of all that. It's not us. It's not us sitting at this table. Masculinity is someone who demeans women. Like not toxic masculinity. They're trying to put these people in as these spokesperson for us. Like let's be honest, call it what it is. You take Harvey Weinstein, you take Donald Trump, Matt Lauer, like go down the list. Like that's what they're trying to say masculinity is. And there's none of us at this table that would look and have 2 cents of respect for them as a man or what they've done. And so let's talk about what masculinity truly is. Masculinity is truly a man who respects women, who is a father, who is a husband, who are all these titles, and he takes those and they are sacred, and he wakes up every day and he earns those titles by being there for the family, for providing, protecting, for leading, and being there for his wife. A masculine man doesn't protect the woman because she's weak. He protects her because she's important.
She's worthy.
She's worthy. And so society, like those people who are saying that, it's just
It's sad.
But you know what? Like I look at it and I don't feel sad that they're saying this. I feel sad that's the idea that someone has instilled in them as a man. And I go back to this. I bet the most influential man, I bet you don't have anybody saying that, that this is toxic masculinity or blah, 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 blah. I bet if you look at it, I bet the men in their lives were shitty men. And that's the problem. That's the problem with it. And when I hear these men, they're too busy to help with the kids. Well, then what do you think about these single fucking moms out there that the shithead dad has ran off from and left them and left his responsibility of a one-night stand, a good time for him, and he's left this woman who her whole life has changed, and she's busting her ass every single day, 12 hours a day, working 2 jobs to provide for her child because somebody else, a man, left his responsibility, and she still has to come home from her job that she works 7 days a week because she has to work 2 just to afford it. She can't even go get her hair done. She can't even drive a nice car, and she still has to come home and wash and provide for this child and pick the child up from daycare and get the child to bed and turn around and still get the clothes done or get school done or get prepared herself for work and turn around and cook dinner and then get up the next morning and start it all over. So when I hear these men that aren't fathers because of their excuses, I look back and I'm like, let's don't put us in the same category.
Mm-hmm.
Let's don't put us in the same category.
I love that. What kind of advice would you give a first-time dad? Do you have a number one piece of advice you think?
Look, it's going to be hard. Like no upfront, it's going to be hard. It's going to be the best thing you've ever done. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Nobody's got it figured out. But what I would tell you if you're going to be a parent, there's 2 pieces of it. There's if you're married and if you're not married, because that's the way society is right now, right? If you're married and you're about to be a parent, understand that your wife comes first. Don't ever forget that piece of it. You're always going to have your child in your mind. Your child is always going to be at the top of the list. But your wife's health, your wife's sanity, you supporting your wife 110% comes first, and your marriage. Because if you don't focus on that, if you and your wife are the best that you can be, 110% the kid problem fix itself.
Right.
If you're not with the other person, what I tell you as far as being a parent, man, put all your differences aside and enjoy it. It goes by so fast. It's hard. Be a dad. Don't be what society tells you to be a dad. Be a dad. Be a father. And that's hard to do. And there's a lot of pieces to it. And none of us here, no man on the face of the planet has ever got it perfect. Mm-hmm. But do that. Enjoy it. Love your child. And just be a father. Be a father. Like, be a father. It's not crazy. It's not crazy. It doesn't matter how much stuff you buy them. No kid cares about what kind of house they grow up in. No kid cares about the cars you drive. The kid cares about the time you spend with them and if you show them that you love them. And, I got to see this year. I had a buddy. We were actually filming a podcast for Father's Day. And we were both talking about being a parent and just how incredible, being a parent is. And the next day, his 3-year-old son died. And as I was sitting there at the funeral, I was looking up there. I mean, you walk into a funeral that has, the Cars theme. And it just shows you that, like, it could all be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good. This guy is one of the best parents I've ever seen. One of the best men I've ever seen. Him and his wife, just incredible. And it could be taken tomorrow. So all of our days are numbered, to include your children. Wake up every day as if it could be your last or it could be their last. And if you live with that mindset, the rest of it works itself out.
Thanks for coming on the show, bro.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
This was awesome.
No, thank you.
Guys, thanks for listening. Dakota, tell them where they can all find you.
Yeah, Dakota Meyer 0317 on Instagram, Dakota Meyer on Facebook. Go check out On The Dash, onthedash.com. We got some new stuff getting ready to come down the pipe in the next couple months, so go there. Also, go check out Flipside Canvas. I do a lot of digital art stuff. And that's about it. So thank you all so much.
Awesome, dude.
Awesome. Thank you
so much.
Appreciate
Guys,
it.
thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe so you can get notified of future podcasts coming out after this. And leave us a rating and review. We would greatly appreciate that. See you in the next episode. Peace.